you think waiting until 67 or even 70 is the smartest way to get the most out of Social Security? You might want to rethink that strategy. What if I told you there's a way to start collecting at 62 and turn those monthly checks into hundreds of thousands more in a portfolio by the time you hit your golden years? Sounds impossible, right? But it's not, and I'm here to show you exactly how to make it happen. In today's episode, we are challenging this traditional advice about waiting for bigger payouts and breaking down a strategy that could leave you richer, freer, and more in control of your financial future. It requires smart planning, discipline, and an understanding of how compounding works. If you're ready to learn how to turn Social Security into real wealth, stick around. You don't want to miss this. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror. Where future success is reflected in our knowledge of fixing the one thing we can control, ourselves.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror, and thanks for joining me today as we continue to work to improve the one thing that we can control, ourselves. Here at the Financial Mirror, it is not about the numbers and spreadsheets alone, but about transforming and educating you on money so that you can make smarter financial decisions. If this is the first time you are joining in, don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube to be notified of all the new episodes as they release. If you are listening to this on Rumble, don't forget to follow the channel and like the video. And on any podcast platform of your choice, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Now, today is a little bit different of an episode. There's a lot of visuals involved. There's a lot of data, a lot of charts, and I'm going to walk through it in a very methodical manner. However, if you are on a podcast this week, feel free to listen in. There is a lot of numbers and data, though. I'm going to try to make it all visually appealing in your mind with words, but with kind of the structure and the content. Sometimes the visual just really is. A picture's worth 1,000 words is what they say, and that's what I'm going to tell you today. So if you get a moment, please go check out the YouTube channel, the Rumble video, Facebook, wherever Meta, whatever they call it now, wherever you watch this, go check it out and see some of the visuals and walk as we kind of walk through the data. However, if you're on a podcast, you stick around because you will still be able to get the content and understand where I'm coming from. Maybe you're like, yeah, I don't care about that. And then you don't have to waste your time, watching the video. But if you're really interested on the podcast, you can go back to certain parts and just see the charts that I throw up just to get an idea. But today I want you to picture this. I want you to picture this perfect retirement filled with zero financial stress and tons of doing the things you enjoy, whether it's golf, travel, family, whatever. Now imagine a not so comfortable retirement, right? There is a lot of people out there right now that are drawing Social Security and they are still struggling. They're still struggling. And Social Security was put out there as this helpful incentive for people to work and then have these like quote unquote golden years and be able to draw on this at various times after they've contributed, right? And it allowed for them to once again be able to kind of get some money out and retire. People were not well, set up financially to retire, and Social Security was going to be that thing that put them over the edge. I've done episodes on it before, how you shouldn't rely on Social Security, so forth and so on, and like things you can do. You can go check out those videos if that's something that you're interested in. But here's the thing: is Social Security is not a whole lot of money if you still have bills. If you are completely debt-free, Social Security may be able, and I mean including your house, may be enough for many people to live. Not all, but many. But the thing is that there's three options really when it comes to drawing Social Security, right? There's kind of three big bucket options, right? You can start drawing at 62, you can start drawing at 67, or you can start drawing at 70. Obviously, the longer you wait, the larger your check. And it's created this mindset where people feel that they're going to get more out of Social Security if they wait and they get the more money, right? Now, This is a very controversial topic because some would say, well, draw early because, you may die, right? And that's a fair point, right? If you wait till 70 and you die at 67, you drew $0 out of Social Security and you missed 5 years of drawing, right? If you're waiting till 70, that is. But here's the thing is, what if I told you that none of that really matters? And if you take a little bit of initiative for yourself, it doesn't matter. You can draw a 62 and you'll still come out ahead. And here's the kicker. The strategy isn't for everyone. Okay. I'm going to say that up front, is that this strategy is not for everyone. However, if this strategy is specifically for people that don't need their Social Security at 62, B, if you're even contemplating wait until 67 or 70, this strategy is for you. And if you just don't really need Social Security at all, this strategy is for you. But if you need, and I say this up front, if you need your Social Security to pay the bills, like you're 61 and a half and you cannot wait to turn 62 because life is just boiling down on you and you really need the Social Security check, this strategy is not for you. Okay. It's not. You should probably, if you're in that, much trouble, that extra few $1,000s a month is probably going to be helpful to help get you in the right place. And you're probably not even watching this video. But if you don't need the money at 62, if you don't think you'll ever need the Social Security, this definitely falls into you. If you're thinking about, sticking it out until 67 or 70, this is definitely a video for you. Okay. So all that being said, I just want to kind of get that up front and say, this is a controversial topic. I got it. But I'm curious, if you are past 62 and you waited, what led you to wait? Like, what made you think of waiting? If you drew at 62, what made you draw at 62? I'm curious. I really am. But here's the big question. When is the best time to draw it? And I'm here to tell you that, because everybody thinks wait longer for the bigger checks, right? But I'm here to tell you that that's not the case unless you need it at 62. It's really not the case unless you need it at 62. So I'm going to throw this up. So this is just some average numbers I pulled together. These are different depending on how much you pay in, so forth and so on. There's a lot of factors that go into Social Security, and these numbers are not going to be the same for every single person. However, they will be kind of close. Okay. They will be kind of close. So the numbers that I'm using for this episode, and you can see it in this chart, is for 62, it's about $2,759 a month. For 67 is $3,950 a month, $52 a month, excuse me. And at 70, it climbs up to $4,900 a month. So you can kind of see it in this chart. This is the range that you would take that money in if you waited until 67 or 70 versus the 62 kind of being that blue bar. Okay, so at first glance, waiting seems like the obvious choice, right? Bigger checks must mean more money, right? Okay, but let's dig deeper, because is that really the case? And if you've listened to me at all so far, you know that that's probably not the case. So what we want to look at is cumulative benefits over time. Okay, cumulative benefits over time. This is kind of where I start to bring questions into, is waiting the best option? Okay, because you can't just look at the monthly amount. You have to look at how much is that going to pay you over time. Think about it, because if you draw at 62 and the next person draws at 67, you're going to draw for 5 years before 67 ever starts. Ever gets their first dollar, you're going to be drawing, right? So if you start at age 62, by 67, you have already collected about $165,000. If you wait till 67, it would take you until age 79 to catch up to the person who started at 62. Okay. So for your benefit to break even and you start benefiting from drawing at 67, you need to at least live until 79, right? If you don't live till 79, at 62, you would have drawn and been just fine. You would have made just as much money back from your Social Security benefit. Okay. Than the person that started at 62. If you wait till 70, you don't break even with the 62-year-olds that draw until age 71. And you don't break even with the 67-year-olds until, or 67-year-olds until 83. So if you don't plan on living till, and I say plan, right? I'm going like maybe statistically you're just average age in your family of people when they pass away is 70, right? That's probably a good indication that maybe 62 is a great option anyways, because you just on average, like the average person's living until 70 and you have their same genes. So this is just honesty. That's kind of a hard way to say it, but I'm being serious, right? And people in my family, I can't think of many people that live to be in the 90s. So I'm not basing my lifetime on 90 because I just haven't seen that many people live to 90. I don't even think many people have lived into the mid 80s, right? So back to the point here, 62-year-olds break even with the 67-year-olds, the 67-year-olds break even with the 62 at 79. The people that draw at 70 break even with the 62 at 81 and the 67 at 83. Okay. Just throwing that out there. Now, here's the reality. Waiting is a gamble, as you can see. You are betting on living long enough to make it worth it. But what if you could take money early and grow it instead? And that's where my strategy comes in, right? It's not about this break even stuff. Like this is baby money compared to what you could make by taking ownership into an investment strategy with your Social Security. Okay. So here's where things get exciting, and they get really exciting. What if instead of waiting for a bigger check, you started taking Social Security at 62 and invested every dollar, right? Here's how it plays out. By 67, your investment has grown to $200,000. By age 70, it's worth $376,000, and by 80, it's worth $1.5 million. Now, and I'm going to show you some of this, that you can still bring in the same amount of money had you waited till 67 or 70 and still come out way on top, like increasing your net worth, like you're building wealth while living on this extra money. Okay. So now, I'm going to show you the charts that's going to break all this out. Hopefully it all makes sense. And if you have questions, throw them in the comment section. Happy to get to those. But before you get your hopes up, this conversation, first and foremost, doesn't apply to many, right? Because to ever get to the 1.5 million, it assumes that you need your Social Security and you invest it every month, or you don't need your Social Security and you invest it every month. If you need your Social Security, this isn't applicable to you, right? Because you need to draw it at 60 and use it. If you need it at 67, it means you were not going to take it until 67. So it's okay to assume that you could invest it from 62 to 67, right? That's a safe assumption. If you were going to wait till 67 anyways, it's a fair assumption for me to say you don't need it that bad until 67. So invest it from 62 to 67. And at 67, draw out what is the difference between what you're getting paid and what you would have received, right? Now, what I'm going to show you today is give you another way to think about this. And I want to show you how, if you're thinking of waiting until 67 or even 70, it still makes sense to start drawing at 62. Okay. Still makes perfect sense to start to draw at 62. Now, let's go back to the numbers that I stated. I told you that at 62, you would be drawing $2,759 a month, or $33,108 a year. Okay. Now, I want to show you how that compares in terms of overall value when you invest that money, right? So you invest that money. If you invested this in I'm going to throw this chart right here. It shows that on your around the age of 67, right? So let me break it out. The yellow line at the bottom is if you draw at 62, and you just every single month you take that $2,759 a month. That's what your final value would be at age 90, right? That's what that shows you. It's just under $1 million value, right? If you didn't use any of it, that value. Now, if you started drawing at 62 and investing until 70 or 67 all of your Social Security, you can look at the orange line and see that's what the overall value would be, right? Overall value, meaning how much you earned in investment and how much you utilized, right? So that's not going to be an account value. That's just going to be overall value. And then the red, pink line, whatever, is if you started drawing at 70 and you withdrew what you would have received had you waited till 70, that would be your overall value at the end. So up over 1.5 million. Okay. Now, that probably doesn't mean much to you. It probably doesn't. And because I want to break down each of these individually, right? Because here's the thing, if you invest this money and in the first year it grows, let's just say by 4%, because when you use a dollar cost averaging type of mentality, and say what you invest at month 1 is going to have much more time to grow than what you invest at month 12. So I'm just going to use an average 4%, and that means that at the end of your first year, your money would not have grown very much. Roughly if you invested it over time, you grow the 40%, the 4%, and it may be around 40,000, right? Just 38,000, something like that, 36,000. Now, after that, I used a 10% growth. For all these charts, I used 10% annual growth, which is fairly common. That's about what the market averages annually. So 10% was a good number that would compound steadily, right? So if you started drawing at 62, by age 67, you will have accumulated $200,000 in investment portfolio value. By 70, you'd be at $376,000 investment portfolio value. So that gives you your starting points. That shows you, hey, this is where, if I was at 67, this is how much I would start withdrawing off of. Okay. And now I'm going to break those scenarios down, because that's what this whole investment strategy is about. It's about investing your money. If you don't need the money at all, just take it out at 62 and invest it. You're going to end up with over $4 million if you live to be 90. If you don't need the money until 67 or 70, take the money at 62, invest it until you need it, and then at 67, you'll start drawing off of that investment. At 70, you would start drawing off that investment if that's when you can wait till. And maybe you get to 70 and you're like, I don't need this anymore, or I don't need this as much, and you don't have to take out that full amount, right? So here's how this goes. So we're going to look at this chart, and this shows you a comparison of drawing at 62, drawing at 67, right? And then drawing at 67 and doing that investment value that I was talking about, right? That says, here's how much the value would be. Okay. So, and the value comes from this. It comes from calculating what your account value would be. Like I said, about 200,000 at age 67 is kind of our starting point. And then we're going to subtract how much we need to make up the difference, right? So if you were starting to draw at 67, the difference that you're trying to make up is the difference of at 62, your annual benefit is about 33,108, and at 67, your annual benefit is about 47,424. And go back to those original numbers, just multiply them times 12, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Just how much do you receive in Social Security benefit in a year? Right. So at 62, it's about 33,000. At 67, using that number would be about 47,000. Now, you don't need to draw $47,000 out of your investment every year, right? Because you're still receiving a Social Security check. Remember, they start at 62 and they go until you die or Social Security runs out, right? So you're receiving that check still. So you only need the difference, which is $14,316. So looking at this chart, it takes what that 200-ish thousand dollars, it subtracts it grows the 10% and then it subtracts your withdrawal, which is that 14,000. And that's going to be utilized for that year, right? And you don't have to draw it out at one time. You can draw it out monthly. But that's how that would look, right? Because you don't need 40 whatever thousand. You need 14,316. Divide that by 12. You need that every single month to make up the difference of what you would have been receiving at 67. Make sense? That gives you your breakdown. And now everything left in that investment account continues to grow at roughly an average of 10%, right? So you can see the value continues to grow and it grows a pretty good amount, right? A good amount, and it goes until you die. And then that money's left back for your loved ones or charity or whatever you decide to do with all the money and things you leave behind. Remember, 62, you will continue to get the paychecks. In this example, you stop investing at 67 and you just start living on what you're drawing at 62 and what you're pulling out to make up the difference of what you would have started drawing at 67, right? So in this case, the difference is about $1,193. Makes sense? So every month you would take $1,193 out and that would give you your total, right? Add that with your what you're drawing out of your paycheck, what you're drawing from Social Security every month, and you practically have the same thing, right? So you're still getting your Social Security check that you would have been getting at 67. The only difference is you have, over 200 grand sitting in an investment account along with getting the same you would have got at 67. Now, we can do the same for 70. I'm not going to draw out 70 as long, but I just want you to see that you can use the same calculation, right? Here in this example at age 70, the value starts out around 376,000 or 378,000, excuse me. And you take that, subtract what you need. So in this case, you need to make up the difference. You need about $25,692. This is an additional $2,141 a month. So you'll get your Social Security check, which is about the $2,759. Out of your investment account, you're going to withdraw the $2,141, and you're going to let the account continue to grow based off what you built between 62 and 70, right? And you can see that it completely blows out of the water, drawing at 62 in that value, drawing at 70 in that value, and it blows it out from the get-go. Like it's never close, right? It's never close. It never catches up. So it's very important that you understand this, because it is by relying on the government to ensure that your money is growing appropriately is never a good idea, right? It's never a good idea. They're not great with money. So waiting until 70 or even 67 is it doesn't make sense. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it doesn't make sense. If you can wait till 62, 67 or 70, starting to withdraw at 62 and investing it until 67 or 70 is a much better idea. And then withdraw the difference of what you need. And you could probably withdraw more, honestly. And depending on growth, right? Like some years it's not going to be 10%. I got it. Some years it might be negative, but other years it might be 27%, right? It's just important to know that these opportunities are out there. And if you can be deliberate about this, this is the better idea, right? This is 1,000% the better idea. I guarantee it. Now, I pulled this together because it just shows you a comparison of all, but you can see down there, probably the worst, drawing at 62 gives you the least amount of value. The next one is drawing at 67, then drawing at 70, obviously cumulative value, and these are up until 90. Remember those crossover ages or those break-even ages. But then invested value at 67 is the next one, and invested value at 70, right? There's value in investing from 62 to 70 and then starting your withdrawals. That's where you get the most bang for your buck. If you can wait till 70, draw at 66 and invest that puppy until 70. If you can't wait that long, that's fine. There's still tons of benefit in is drawing at 62 and invest until 67, right? There's still tons of benefit there. So I tell you, and you can see if you draw at 62 and you invest it because you just don't need it ever, you're up around 4.5 million by the time you turn 90, right? Just starting at 62 and investing your Social Security. That's it. That's all it is, right? So I can't tell you enough that the takeaway here is that waiting for larger checks might sound like the safe option, but drawing Social Security at 62 and investing it wisely could leave you with hundreds or of thousands or even millions more in net worth, right? It's about taking control, building wealth, and creating the retirement you deserve, right? If this video helped you and gave you something to think about, and take this to your tax professional, take this to your financial advisor, talk them through this. I can't believe that more people don't kind of look at this as an option. If they're like I said, if they can wait till 67, why not draw at 62? Why not? So I am going to throw this chart up real fast because it just gives a good breakdown of all the things we just talked about, and I just want you to see what those numbers look like, and this is just a quick little chart that shows you what. Let me move myself over here so you can see the chart. But this gives you just a quick breakdown of what those numbers are, right? What those numbers are and how you can, now you should be able to see them. Just what those numbers are and how they can benefit you. So how this is broken out is this is how much your cumulative value would be at 62 versus 67 versus drawing at 70. So you can see all these zeros because you don't make any money. But here's if you draw at 62 and invest for all of your paycheck, your Social Security check every single month, that's what it would end up being, 4.4 million, right? And that's saying that you never touched it. You never withdrew anything. You just continue to invest every month your Social Security check. That's what you would leave behind. What this column F shows you is this is your portfolio balance, right? That's like how much you would have in your portfolio, even withdrawing those differences, right? So if you started drawing at 62 and you invested, and then at 67 you started taking out that 14,316 difference, right? And then it's still growing. At the end at 90, you would have $641,000 sitting in a portfolio, and you still were living, right? You still were withdrawing the same thing. This column G, this investment value, that just shows you what is the overall value of the investing and the withdrawals, right? So it's just adding back in what you actually earned, right? Because you were still getting Social Security check. You just stopped investing it at 67. So it adds that back in. It adds in the money that you were withdrawing to give you, because that was earned income. You earned that. So it adds all that back in just to show you what the overall value of that is, which is 1.3 million. And then same for 70 account value. So just taking your money out, you'd walk away with $1 million at the end of it, and then your invested value at 70 just adds those withdrawals back in. So that 1.6 million. So you can screenshot this, take a look at it, pause the video, whatever, but just a quick little way for you to look at those overall values, because that is very important to see how those all compare and stack up. Now, I hope that you got something out of this video. I hope it gave you something to think about. But truthfully, leave comments below If that's something that, if you withdrew at 62 and you're like, man, like I don't even need this anymore. Like I've got this other retirement coming in now. Start investing it. Start letting that money grow. Don't sit on the sidelines waiting. Just start investing and let that money just build and build and build. It is all about taking control of your finances and building wealth. Retirement is supposed to be a great time. It's supposed to be an enjoyment and something that you get to get paid back for all the years of hard work. But many people just don't really think through and plan how they're going to retire. They just kind of expect it to happen, and it just doesn't work that way. So hopefully this gave you something to think about, something to ponder on. But if this video gave you some insights, I tell you, hit the thumbs up button, like the video, share it with someone who may be planning for their upcoming retirement, and subscribe to the channel for more personal finance episodes in the future. And remember, like, this is all about growing together and growing and building wealth all in one community. So until next time, continue improving the one thing you can control, yourself. Peace.
Well, that wraps up today's Financial Mirror. Join us next week as we continue to work on ourselves, change our mentality, and to commit to achieving the success we always envisioned. Regardless of your platform, help us grow as a community. Please like, subscribe, and share with the people in your lives.